So we'll take up our 7.2 item. 7.2, consideration of sending a letter to Congressman Thompson regarding possible resolution in PG&E's proposed decommissioning of Potter Valley Dam. This will be presented by Matthew Rothstein.
Good morning, Board. Matthew Rothstein, Deputy County Administrative Officer. As always, it's a privilege to be with you this morning. Your board has consistently and steadfastly raised concerns over potential adverse effects of decommissioning and removal of Scott Dam by PG&E. Lake County's esteemed Congressman, Mike Thompson, has expressed interest in assisting Lake County in making our concerns and priorities known. And he's also encouraged county supervisors and leaders to share areas of priority for mitigation and restoration measures should decommissioning and dam removal prove inevitable. The letter attached to this agenda item and displayed here as it appears on board letterhead with a couple of very minor fixes reiterates your board's opposition to decommissioning and describes anticipated categories of need should dam removal occur. Staff recommends that your board approve this letter and authorize the vice chair to sign, as it will assist in further communications with Congressman Thompson and other interested parties. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Matthew. Any conversation, questions from the board? Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, appreciate this item coming forward, and I appreciate the hard work staff has put into it. And I know that this is such a complicated issue, and we've started this new public process with the Russian River Water Forum and stuff like that. But between the previous effort and the two-basin solution and this current effort ramping up in the Russian River watershed, if I were to offer one gentle criticism or offer a friendly amendment, it's the notion that, as has been studied only very briefly, the notion of partial removal, partial decommissioning, that would permanently lower the elevation of the dam, possibly allow for some fraction of water storage to continue to occur, definitely would be beneficial for sediment removal. And so, although it's been kind of limited to side notes and some engineering reports and stuff like that, the physical idea of partial removal with installation of fish passage options up and downstream is an option that has not been studied, to my knowledge, in any detail. And I think that's understandable because the Eel River interests would have zero interest in anything short of total removal. And those people farther down the Potter Valley project may not have a partial removal of Scott Dam on the front burner of their wish list. So I'm totally okay with moving this letter as is. I just want to kind of drop an idea that as we move forward in this process, that partial removal or partial decommissioning that would allow some level of water storage to continue and would allow us to consider fish passage options that, again, have never been fully considered with the Scott Dam itself. Might be something we would want to take a look at down the road.
Appreciate your comments, Michael. Supervisor Mtg.
Just, so I think this is an important process, an important letter, an important step. I guess one of and I just saw the correction, and it didn't really strike me when reviewing it, but I see now we've replaced it with Chair Simon, Vice Chair Simon, because he's the chair today. But I'm wondering if we can get all 5 signatures on there to really strengthen the document with our support rather than just one signature, just kind of putting it out there. We've done that before in the past for certain important letters that we've submitted. I either way, move forward, but just kind of wondering if that's a possibility. Obviously, we would have to wait for our colleagues to come back in order to get their signatures, but just curious how the board would feel about that and if it strengthens it or if it's just a waste of time.
You know, from my point of view, obviously having all 5 signatures on there is a good thing. We do have some folks out. I know we were looking to get this letter out as soon as possible, so I don't know everybody's travel schedule. I would be leaning on our CAO for that.
It'll be next week before we can get those signatures because of at least the chair, we cannot email or Adobe sign.
Okay. Lloyd or Matthew, does that create any issues at this point? That would be my only concern at this time, would be timing.
Yeah. From my perspective, I mean, if your board is comfortable approving the language today, then that language can be shared, and we could, follow that by getting all 5 signatures. From my perspective, I'd be interested in any further feedback Lloyd has as well.
Yeah, your board has the option to have all 5 sign, or just have the vice, in this case, the vice chair sign. Either option is fine.
I'm fine with approving it today with the 5 signatures. I think it sends a real message that, all 5 are on board. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and I like the idea of sharing the language and then getting him the original copy with all signatures on there. So that would be a good way to go.
Okay. Any more discussion? The board, not seeing any, I'm going to go ahead and open this up to public input. Anyone in the room? You have 3 minutes, so come on up.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Michael Wegner. I think, Mr. Green, it's a very good point that this stuff gets brought forward. I think there's long-reaching effects of the potential of what we undo or do. So taking the time to really vet it and look at how all of this is going to play out and getting kind of ahead of the curve, I think is a really smart move on your guys' side. So, as a single member, but as a part of the public in general, I thank you guys for bringing this forward, and thank you, sir, for drafting everything, and appreciate you guys keeping an eye on what's going on in a big perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any more public comment in the room? If not, we're going to go ahead.
And just a
Supervisor
quick
Mtg.
response to Mr. Wagner. So all possibilities definitely were reviewed in the original, what was it called? The NOI, I forget what the group specifically was called that was looking into it. I forget the specific group. But all solutions were looked at, whether it was doing a fish passage with what's there, doing partial decommissioning or full decommissioning. And so those options were definitely vetted to a certain degree and gone through and there was probably about 30 different individuals that were part of that interest group. So it's not an option that was ignored or breezed over, but it doesn't resolve the problem of the majority of those and who is going to hold the bill of continuing to maintain and run a partial dam still at that point in time. So it's definitely still something that we could look into, but I know it wasn't something that was breezed over or passed over.
Thank you. Any hands up in the Zoom room?
No hands in Zoom.
Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and close public input and bring it back for action at the board.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the letter to Congressman Thompson regarding the possible resolution in PG&E's proposed decommissioning of Potter Valley Dam with the proposal from Mr. Rothstein to submit the verbiage to our congressman and get all 5 signatures with the original copy in his hand.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Rothstein, thank you very much.